Have you ever wondered why someone truly falls in love with you? Not just why they're attracted to you or interested in your personality, but why they deeply and emotionally connect with you in a way that feels almost fated. According to Carl Jung, it's not random. It's not just chemistry, charm, or coincidence. It's something much deeper, something rooted in the architecture of the human psyche. Jung believed that when two people fall in love, it's rarely because of who the other person is objectively. Instead, it's because of what they awaken in us. And ultimately, there are only two reasons someone truly falls in love with you. They either see a part of themselves in you, or they see a part of themselves they've lost, forgotten, or never dared to express. Jung's theory of the unconscious mind is at the heart of this. He divided the psyche into layers: the conscious mind, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious. Within these layers live archetypes, symbols, and patterns that shape how we relate to ourselves and to others. When someone falls in love with you, they are often responding to something you represent in their unconscious world. You may carry an archetype that is deeply meaningful to them: the lover, the healer, the protector, the muse. They might not know this consciously, but something about your presence stirs a memory in their psyche, a feeling of familiarity, even destiny. Jung called this phenomenon anima and animus projection, the unconscious image of the ideal partner that lives within each of us, often formed by early experiences and cultural myths. The first reason someone falls in love with you, then, is because they recognize themselves in you. It's a mirror effect. Maybe you share the same values, similar traumas, matching ambitions, or emotional responses. There's an unconscious pull when someone sees in you what they understand in themselves. It creates a sense of comfort, resonance, and intimacy. They feel seen, and so do you. The relationship feels easy at first, like finding home in another person. Jung believed that this type of connection can be powerful but also tricky, because when we fall in love with our mirror, we are not always seeing the person clearly, we are seeing our reflection in them. The second reason someone falls in love with you, perhaps even more profoundly, is because you embody something they've lost or never allowed themselves to become. You carry the forgotten parts of their soul. Jung would say that you awaken the shadow or the unlived life within them. Maybe you're bold and expressive, and they've always been reserved. Maybe you're emotionally open, and they've spent years behind a wall. Maybe you live creatively, and they've long abandoned their imagination. In these cases, love is not just about connection. It becomes a doorway. You represent the part of themselves that they long to reclaim. When someone falls in love with you because they see a reflection of themselves in you, the connection can feel immediate, natural, and deeply reassuring. You laugh at the same jokes, share similar memories, even finish each other's sentences. It feels like you've known each other forever, even if you've just met. Jung believed that this experience often signals a strong alignment in personal archetypes. You mirror their inner world in a way that makes them feel seen and understood. It's not only that you're compatible, it's that your presence resonates with their psychic landscape. You reflect back the parts of them they already acknowledge and value. This kind of mutual recognition can be the foundation of strong companionship. When someone recognizes in you the same kindness, depth, curiosity, or pain that lives in them, it fosters intimacy. You walk through the world with similar eyes. But as beautiful as this is, Jung cautioned that there is a danger in seeing only your own reflection in someone else. When we fall in love with someone who mirrors us too perfectly, we risk not really seeing them at all. We're not in love with who they truly are, we're in love with the version of ourselves we see through them. This can create a kind of emotional feedback loop, where both people feel validated and cherished for the parts of themselves that feel safest. But when a challenge arises, when one person acts in a way that doesn't match the mirror, things can start to crack. The illusion of sameness breaks, and suddenly the relationship feels unfamiliar. Why? Because what was really fueling the love wasn't a deep understanding of the other person, but an unconscious recognition of the self. Jung would describe this as a projection of the persona, the mask we wear to the world, the part of us shaped by society and personal history. On the other hand, when someone falls in love with you because you represent a part of themselves they've lost, the emotional charge is different. It's magnetic, often overwhelming. You may not have much in common on the surface, but the connection runs so deep it's almost frightening. You bring light to their unlived life. Maybe your freedom triggers something in them they've long suppressed. Maybe your emotional openness breaks through the numbness they've used to survive. Maybe your presence reminds them of what they used to dream of before they grew guarded and cautious. This is where Jung's theory of the shadow becomes especially important. The shadow holds all the parts of ourselves we deny, reject, or are too afraid to express. When someone falls in love with their shadow embodied in another person, it feels as though that person holds the key to their wholeness. They don't just want you, they need you, often in a way that feels intense and consuming. But this kind of love isn't always about you. It's about what you awaken. And if they're not aware of it, the relationship can become imbalanced. You might feel flattered, even moved, by how deeply they love you. But over time, you might also feel the weight of being idealized, of carrying their hopes, their longings, even their identity. Jung described this as the projection of the anima, the feminine aspect of the male psyche, or the animus, the masculine aspect of the female psyche. These inner figures live in the unconscious and carry the opposite gendered qualities we've yet to integrate. When someone projects their anima or animus onto you, they fall in love not with you as you are, but with the psychic figure you represent in their inner world. It sounds poetic, and in many ways, it is. But it also means that you may be loved for reasons that have more to do with their soul's longing than your real personality. Over time, this can lead to disappointment or conflict. As the projection fades, they may feel betrayed by your humanity. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you've revealed that you are not the fantasy their unconscious created. This can be painful. But Jung saw this as a necessary and transformative stage of relationship. When projections dissolve, what remains is the real opportunity to love and be loved as you truly are. And that's the heart of Jung's view on love. Not that projection is bad, but that it is the beginning of something much deeper. We fall in love through the mirror of recognition and the magnet of the shadow, but we stay in love by doing the inner work of seeing and accepting each other as whole human beings. Jungian relationships are a path of growth. They are a mirror and a lesson. And when approached consciously, they can help both people become more of who they were always meant to be. If someone falls in love with you because they recognize themselves in you, that love is an invitation to mutual understanding. It allows for harmony and companionship, and with awareness, it can become the foundation for a lifelong bond. But it must evolve beyond projection. You must both learn to see each other not just as mirrors, but as complex individuals. And if someone falls in love with you because you embody something they've lost, that love is a call to healing. It's not your job to complete them, but your presence may guide them back to a part of themselves they forgot existed. The challenge in this kind of love is to avoid becoming their source of wholeness. Instead, your role is to encourage them to reclaim that part of themselves for their own. Only then can the relationship stand on equal ground. In either case, the depth of love comes from the unconscious meeting itself, through reflection, through longing, through the archetypes that live within us all. Jung never saw love as a simple emotion. To him, it was a bridge to the soul, a sacred and often difficult journey toward truth, growth, and wholeness. Once the initial magnetism of love begins to settle, we enter what Jung would call the second and far more critical phase of relationship, the dissolution of illusion. This is where many couples begin to feel tension, not because love has disappeared, but because projection has started to fade. The qualities you once adored in the other person now irritate you. The mystery you once found alluring becomes confusing. You start to see them as they truly are, rather than as the unconscious figure your psyche projected onto them. This moment is often mistaken as falling out of love. But Jung would argue the opposite. It is actually the first chance to love someone for who they really are. Not for the image they held in your mind. Not for what they triggered in your psyche. But for their full, complex, flawed, and beautiful humanity. The shift from projected love to conscious love is the most difficult and rewarding stage in any romantic bond. It's where real intimacy begins. But many people never make it past the projection stage. They fall in love with what the person represents and then walk away when the illusion dissolves. They feel disappointed, not realizing that it was never the other person who changed, it was the spell of the unconscious lifting. This is where Jung's concept of individuation becomes essential. In order to stay in love consciously, each person must take responsibility for their own growth. You must ask, what did I see in this person that belongs to me? What parts of myself have I given away in this relationship? What can I reclaim, so I no longer demand the other person carry it for me? This is not about creating distance, it's about creating clarity. Love becomes mature when both people begin to see each other as individuals, not as emotional crutches or psychic mirrors. This is where true devotion arises, not the kind that seeks completion in the other, but the kind that says, I see you, not as an ideal, but as you are, and I still choose you. When someone falls in love with you because you represent a lost part of them, your presence acts as a catalyst. But it is not your responsibility to be their healer. One of the great traps in these relationships is when the awakened partner takes on the role of guide, mentor, or emotional caretaker. Jung warned that this dynamic becomes imbalanced quickly and leads to resentment, guilt, and power struggles. Love is not therapy. The best you can do is hold space for the other person's growth while tending to your own. If the relationship is to thrive, both people must commit to facing their inner world with honesty and humility. There is also a spiritual dimension to love that Jung emphasized. He often described falling in love as the psyche's attempt to heal and integrate. When two people connect on this level, something ancient stirs in the unconscious, a recognition that goes beyond words, logic, or appearances. This is why love can feel so profound, even if it is brief. Why a single glance, a conversation, a short-lived romance can leave an imprint on your soul for years. In Jung's view, every relationship, whether it lasts or not, is part of your personal myth. Your personal myth, according to Jung, is the unfolding story of your life, the inner path your soul is taking toward wholeness. The people you fall in love with are not random characters in this story. They are signposts, messengers, archetypes wearing a human face. Some appear to teach you courage. Others awaken grief. Some remind you of your passion, your softness, your wildness. But none of them are accidents. They are expressions of your psyche's deep need for integration. When someone falls in love with you because they recognize you, they feel safe. When someone falls in love with you because you awaken their shadow, they feel alive. And in both cases, there is a choice to be made. Will this love be a fleeting lesson or a sacred container for transformation? Jung believed that conscious relationships are one of the most powerful forces for personal evolution. But to get there, both people must be willing to peel back the layers, not just of the relationship, but of themselves. This means doing the inner work, naming projections, understanding emotional triggers, and committing to the process of individuation, not just as individuals, but together. It means seeing conflict not as a threat, but as a doorway to deeper connection. It means being brave enough to love not just the person you see, but the parts of yourself they help you discover. In the end, love is not just an emotion. It is a mirror, a test, a teacher, a crucible that burns away illusion and reveals the soul. And when someone falls in love with you, it is because you are part of their story, their myth, their healing, their becoming. The question is, can you love them through their projection? Can you allow them to love you through yours? Can you both remain aware enough to hold the love, not as a possession, but as a shared path of growth? If you can, then love becomes something rare and lasting, Not just a meeting of hearts, but a meeting of souls. Not just a bond, but a transformation. So if you've made it this far, I hope this message stays with you. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe for more insights on Carl Jung, conscious relationships, and inner growth. Stay aware, stay open, and remember, when someone falls in love with you, it's never just about you. It's about the soul's search for wholeness. Be kind with it, be wise with it, and most of all, grow with it.